Perfect. Great stuff. Fabulous. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to this week's Thrive session. Today we're going to be talking to you about building your online presence. So before we do some introductions and get into the detail, I just want to take a second to remind you guys of the purpose of these Thrive series. Now, I'm not sure how many you've attended. This is, I think, the 7th one that we're running now. But I just wanted to give you a bit of an overview in terms of, for those of you that haven't attended a session before, or a reminder for those that have, that these sessions are designed with your personal growth in mind. So in these kind of times of change and challenge, when we need to look at being resilient, we can be on either end of this scale that we see in front of us here. So we can either be on the coping end, which is the dealing with the challenges and overcoming those obstacles in the moment, or we can move towards the thrive end of the scale. And this is what these sessions are about, right? The power to continually develop during a time of change and uncertainty, and to push yourself to perhaps do something that will eventually support you in enhancing your performance and achieving more later down the line. So as I said, today we're going to be bringing you a session on building your online presence. And with many of the topics like we've seen in these series, this is not particularly new to you. It may just set as a refresher of some of the basics and give you some new ideas on some new thoughts that you can take into your daily business. Today we've got actually 2 guests on the line with us. We've got our content creator, Hayley Duncan, and we're also joined by Rihanna Hughes, who is a research executive for AC, which I'm sure you all know. Hayley's been in the company in terms of sales for a very long time, a multi-contest winner. I mean, we're very lucky to have her come and join us in the operations team, specifically in marketing, and she's going to talk to us today about building your online presence. So over to you, Hayley.
Thank you very much, Katie, and thank you to everyone for joining the call today. It's really exciting to be on here, and I'm just going to pretend that you're all not here and I'm sitting in my kitchen. But yeah, thank you for having me. For those of you who don't know me, my name's obviously Hayley Duncan. I am based up in Edinburgh, working as part of our marketing team as the content editor for Europe. Basically what that means is I write and manage all of the content, the articles, the white papers, that we produce for our customers throughout Europe. And as Katie mentioned, just before joining marketing last year, I spent 8 long years working in sales for both Aerotech and Aston Carter. So I totally understand everyone on the call who's from a sales background, you know, what you guys are doing and what you're all trying to achieve from a sales perspective. So, as Katie mentioned, today we're going to be talking about building your online presence. And this is a topic which has personally always interested me. I think it's a really, really powerful sales tool, and I think something that everyone can benefit from personally and professionally when you invest the time. So over the next 20-25 minutes or so, we're going to be covering off what is your online brand and why it's important to develop one in recruitment, how you can improve yours using LinkedIn, what good looks like with a little bit of help from Rihanna, and we'll wrap up with leaving you with some confidence builders and takeaways that you can hopefully implement moving forward. So starting with online presence, I guess what is online presence? Well, broadly speaking, having an online presence is key for any business to thrive in the digital age, and even more so in the current climate when face-to-face meetings and interactions are limited. And as it says on the slide here, really the definition of that is the collective existence of a company or individual that can be found online via an online search. So technically speaking, if you've got a website already, be that a Facebook, an Instagram, a Twitter, or whatever other social media platform, then you already have an online presence. But just having a website alone is only the first step. And there's really a big difference between having that platform, having that website, and actually going on to build an effective brand that brings you business success. So in recruitment, we all spend a huge amount of time on LinkedIn. So during this session, we're going to focus on how to develop your online presence using LinkedIn as the platform. But do be aware that your broader online presence does expand beyond LinkedIn as just one tool. So I guess what is your LinkedIn brand? Well, most of you will be aware of the term personal branding from Delivery One or from earlier training in the company. And as you'll know, it's about who you are and what you want to become known for, both personally and professionally. So really your online brand is just an extension of this. It's how you show up online. what you're known for to the market, and how effectively you engage with your market to generate business success. And I suppose just like any successful brand, the strength of it can really translate into business results when you take that time to develop and market it. So just to get your mind thinking for a couple of minutes, I'd like you to think about how often you buy something online, or how often you're influenced to buy something that you saw on social media. And I'm going to guess the answer to that is probably quite a lot, given that we're all home a lot more than we ordinarily would be, and are probably not shopping in shops, and therefore the online market is becoming even bigger at this time. So I guess what I would think about here is, would you buy something from a person or a company if their online profile was vague or was unclear, or if they didn't have reviews or recommendations or information to validate their credibility? Let's just take an eBay seller, for example, with no ratings, or an Airbnb with no reviews. And the chances are you probably wouldn't buy from those companies. You probably wouldn't engage, because whether we like it or not, or whether we know it or not, we're making snap judgments about who we engage with and buy from based on how they appear online. And it's really no different for you all when you're looking at your LinkedIn and how that appears to your customers and to your clients. I think LinkedIn as a platform is absolutely saturated. There's something like 600 million users on it globally. Now, granted, all of those people are not in recruitment, but there's a huge number of those that are, all doing the same thing, trying to achieve the same results and fishing from the same market as you are. So developing that online presence will really help you in terms of avoiding you blending into the masses. So I guess that leads us on to, well, what's in it for you to do this? And I guess if you're on this call today, you're obviously interested in taking your LinkedIn profile a little bit further. There's probably three main benefits that I would say, I think, from doing this. And the first is about getting noticed. It's about making yourself visible and accessible to your customers. And it can also actually help you be found on Google. Now, without getting into the technicalities of how Google works and algorithms and search engine optimization, the short of it is, if you have a well-written profile with the right buzzwords that talks directly to what your market would be searching for, you can actually be searched for or found without actually having to do anything. So it's all working in this behind the scenes, behind what you're doing in your day job. The second benefit, I would say, would be in terms of building credibility and validation for your clients. So the chances are, if you've attended a meeting recently or a virtual meeting, that client has probably checked out your profile either before or after the meeting. And in some cases, and I can remember doing this myself in sales, actually having that great LinkedIn presence and sending a manager a meeting before you make that call can actually warm it up, because when you do make the call, the chances are they might well have already seen you and are prepared for and expecting the call, which makes it nice and warm when you eventually get there. And then finally, a strong LinkedIn presence can help you and encourage you to get your customers to buy from you. So I think there was recent LinkedIn research that found that 81% of people were more likely to buy from people with a strong online brand. And at the end of the day, we're all here to sell. We want to do deals. We want to work with our customers. So if this is a tool that we can use to influence how our customers view us and in turn buy from us, then for me, it's a no-brainer to develop it. So, Katie, I think you're going to cover off very briefly the setting up of your basic profile.
Yes, so we want to share with you guys some tips on how you can actually start to develop your presence. It is no secret, and I'm sure that most of you guys already have a profile. You do most of the basic things already on LinkedIn, and we know that. But what we're here to do today is to kind of humanize it a little bit for you, to make sure that it's working as effectively as possible as a tool for you. Now, along with things like the LinkedIn guide that we have on the one, and along with things like the LinkedIn banners that you can add to your profiles, we can share all this with you, where you can find this information after the call in our takeaway sheet. So we know things like the basics of having a photograph, the role information, recommendations, joining groups. I'm thinking we probably, as a business and as individuals, we're doing that already. Haley's just going to go a little bit more in detail in terms of liking, engaging and sharing content, and how you can do this to build your presence and your profile.
Absolutely. Thanks, Katie. So once you've got the basics, guys, and I'm assuming that most of you probably do have this, given that there's a lot of salespeople on the call who have been with our business now for a little while, it's really then about how do you make your profile stand out and make your market notice you. So if you take nothing else away from this session, the one thing I would urge you to write down and to take away is to remember the power of less. In this case, do more of less. So liking and sharing, engaging. What does that mean? Liking, and probably everyone on the call knows this, but it's quite simply an acknowledgement of someone else's content. It's the little thumbs up or the acknowledgement that you can post against somebody else that's posted something on their page. It's really simple, really quick to do, but what that does is get you noticed. You then show up in that person's notifications, and before you know it, the more you're liking content, the more you're showing up in the inbox of your customers. Second to that is engaging with other content. So a step away from liking would actually be getting involved in a conversation, maybe in a group that you've joined, or maybe if you've seen somebody in your markets posting, asking for help on their CV, asking for help on something, and you as that recruitment expert choose to get involved in a conversation and are engaging with something that they've posted. And again, that's just another route to talk to and engage and communicate with your customers. I think thirdly to that, and probably one of the most important points, is about sharing. So the first two are quite simple to do, but sharing does take a little bit more thought. And the questions that I've had since I started this job are, well, Hayley, what do we share? How often do we share? When do we do it? And how do we know if it's landed well when we do share something? So I guess what I would say to that, guys, is the easiest thing for you to do is share content that already exists. And myself and the marketing team are spending a lot of our time writing papers, writing articles, which Katie will share with you after this call. We'll show you where to get them all, but they're on our company website. So there's lots and lots of content out there you can literally lift and shift and share on your page, and we would urge you to do that. You can also share other people's content too. So if you don't find something that's appropriate to your market, although I would hope that we've done our job properly, I would say find some content, whether it's a news article, maybe a market report, something that the FCA have released, something that's relevant, and you can share that on your page also. What I would say with that though is, and I've seen it happen a few times, do try to avoid sharing our competitors' content. Probably goes without saying and probably quite obvious why we wouldn't want to do that. But if we are going to be promoting content, let's try and do it from within, either from our company or from our own. So then it's about, okay, I've shared some content, I've ticked that box, I've done something. How do I generate engagement? And I know there's a lot of people on this call who want to know what the secret recipe is to just get some more followers and get some more engagement. And unfortunately, it's not that easy. It does take a little bit of trial and error, but there's a few things that I would definitely urge you to think about when you're sharing content to help you get that engagement and get noticed. So the first of those is include hashtags. It's a really, really simple thing you can do, but you can be searched and found on hashtags, especially if they're relevant or if they're trending. Keeping your posts short and succinct is a really, really big one. So if you're planning to do some sort of video, or if you want to share video content, 1 to 2 minutes maximum is what we would say that you should do. And the same for a little post itself. If you're going to post a status, asking for something or sharing something, 50 or 60 words is ample. And the same for an article, maybe something like 600 words. And there's lots of research being done about how quickly people click off of pages when content is too long and they disengage. So that is probably a rule of thumb for doing that. Also, if you're thinking about broadening your audience reach, tagging other people is a massive benefit to this. So you'll see a lot of the posts that we put out on LinkedIn will often tag other people, be that charities we're partnering with, clients that we've supported, or even just other people in our business, because again, that tagging element behind the scenes of LinkedIn helps you expand your reach. I'm often asked the question, when is a good time to post? So we post our articles and our posts between 10 and 11 in the morning, just ahead of lunchtime. According to LinkedIn, that is a peak time to do so, and it's probably something to do with the fact people down tools at lunchtime and start reading their LinkedIns and checking their news feed. And for whatever reason, the best days are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So if you're going to post, those times and those days are best to do it. And then one bit of advice from me, this is a bit of a personal one, it's a bit of a bugbear of mine, but try to avoid using your LinkedIn just to post for jobs or just to ask for candidates. I was guilty of it when I worked in sales, but I think back to the point about how saturated LinkedIn is, if you want to stand out, don't just be that recruiter posting the same thing and asking your candidates in the market for referrals or for jobs, and try to balance that out with some sharing and some engaging of other content. So if you're feeling brave, you might want to create your own content. And when I thought about how best to illustrate this point, I thought getting the lovely Rihanna Hughes on the call with us today would be a great way to do that. So Rihanna Hughes works for Aston Carter. She's a perm research executive. And over the last couple of years, she's done an amazing job of just stepping out her comfort zone and putting some content on LinkedIn, which really has started to make its mark on the Aston Carter industry. So with that, I'd like to welcome Rihanna to the call. Before we hear from Rihanna, though, I'd like to play a short video of a post that she shared recently and would like you to watch it. And while you're watching it, just have a think about what makes this video so effective. Katie, can you play the video?
Hi everybody, I just wanted to come and say a little hello. I know it feels like the world is ending at the moment with people going mental for toilet rolls, whether it's hoarding them or having a bit of fun and playing keepy uppies. I just wanted to say that I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere, and neither are any of my colleagues at Aston Carter. We may not be in the office, but we are still here to give as much support or advice as we can in these uncertain times. We still have lots and lots of clients that are looking to get new people into their team, and happy to still interview via video call. So we really want to speak to you guys. We want to find out what your dream job is and see how we can support you. I know it's quite hard not being in London to be able to meet face to face, but that doesn't stop us grabbing a wine or a beer over a video call. So I want to speak to you guys. Get in contact with me when you can, and I look forward to speaking to you all.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rihanna, for letting us share that content with the group. And hopefully when you all watched that, you thought some of the similar things to what I did and what I wrote down when I first watched it. So for me, that content is so good for a couple of reasons. It's short and sweet, which I think is so important. And I've obviously just mentioned the importance of keeping your content short enough that people engage with it and don't move on or keep scrolling down your page. It's engaging and it's personable. It's just Rihanna being herself, talking to her market. A little bit of fun in there as well, which is really authentic and it's true to Rihanna's personality. And I think the most important thing is she also has a business point to make. She's not just having a bit of fun on her Facebook. This is something that talks to her market and it prompts her customers to think and then think, do you know what? I'm going to call Rihanna because I know this is the market she works in. And to be honest, Rihanna, those statistics speak for themselves. 147 likes and nearly 27,000 views. I don't know if anyone on this call knows their own statistics on LinkedIn, but if anybody is beating these numbers, I want to know about it because this is phenomenal. So Rihanna, firstly, well done on getting the video out there. I think pushing this type of content is fab. For the benefit of the group, I'd love to understand, and I'm sure the group would too, what some of your tips are. So not just for creating videos, but what makes good content in general, do you think, when it comes to LinkedIn?
Thank you for that. I would say my first tip is to stay consistent. So you want to be consistently in front of everybody. Being in their subconscious means that if they don't need you right now, whether they don't need a new job or they're not hiring for their team, that's fine. When they do, you're the first person they think of, you're the first person they go to, and then you're the first one they remember. So it can come in really handy. Number 2, be true to yourself. If you like being in front of a camera, make a video. If you like writing, write articles. You will quickly realise, and other people in your market will quickly realise when you're uncomfortable and things are not quite how they should be, and it means that you'll lose that connection with your audience. So make sure that you're staying true to yourself. Number 3, make sure that your content has a meaning. So don't just post for the sake of it. Remember the message that you want to get across and make sure you stick to it. So thank you, Hayley, for saying that it was sort of fun and lighthearted. That was my plan. But you can also make them quite personal, quite meaningful. You can make strong messages, but whatever you do, just make sure that you relate it back to your original message. Number 4, I'd say find your niche. So through no effort at all, I've actually fallen into a niche just by being a female in a very male-heavy industry. Once you know what your niche is, hone in on it. So join groups of like-minded people. I've attended women in finance and banking events. You can write, record, and talk about it. The more that you show that you have a niche, the more credible that you'll come across to your targeted market. And number 5, I'd say give your network a reason to engage. So ask a question, include a follow-up, talk about something, or give your opinion about something that will engage people to give theirs back. This will bring more people to your page, give you more sort of traction coming through all your posts, and just help spread the word.
Nice one, Rihanna. Thank you for that. And those are definitely some great tips. And hopefully if you've got a notepad on the call or laptop next to you, you're taking some notes of what Rihanna said. But I guess bringing it back to business, and probably the most important thing here, because it's not just about creating great content, which this is, it's about how this then translates for the recruiters and billers on this call into success. So when you look at your experience, Rihanna, and bringing it back to business, I'd be really interested to know what direct or indirect success you've seen as a result of this post or any other posts that you've put up recently on your LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think for myself, I wanted to build my external sort of network, but I also wanted to build my internal network. So this video has actually helped me do both. I've had lots of people from the Allegis Group worldwide sharing my post and sort of sending messages to me saying, sort of giving me some feedback and stuff like that. But I've actually also had managers in my network message me directly through LinkedIn and say, can we meet as soon as the world's back to normal, or can we have a call? So I've actually been able to sort of set up things with them by them coming to me in the first place, just because they've seen the video and they were really difficult to get hold of before.
Amazing. I love that. And I think for anyone on this call, I mean, that's the absolute gold mine, is having customers coming to you. And it's back to that point about things working in the background for you and your LinkedIn being a tool, if it's used effectively, almost to do your job for you. So you can still make your calls and do your emails and go about your job. But if that profile is up to scratch and you've got good content out there, you know, it's working in the background for you. So Rihanna, thank you for joining the call, and hopefully that was helpful for everyone else listening. And what I would say at this point is, if there is anyone on the call thinking, hey, do you know what, I'd like to try a video, or hey, I fancy writing something from an article perspective, please reach out, whether it's to Rihanna or to myself in the marketing team, because I would love to be able to support anybody who has ideas or who's interested. And I would encourage you to reach out for some support before just going off and doing it on your own. But we can certainly recap that in the takeaways. So Rihanna, thanks again for that. One other thing I wanted to share with you all, guys, and I'm not sure if anyone on the call is aware of it, but LinkedIn have actually produced what they're calling a social selling index, and it's something that we'll share with you all after the call. It's basically a link that pulls data straight from your profile. And I'll be honest, I found this a couple of months ago, and when I did, I became very quickly addicted to what it shows you. And you get a bit competitive with it, but basically what it does is it pulls your score. You can see mine there is 66, and it pulls a score out of 100, and it measures you against 4 criteria on where you're at just now, against how you're establishing your brand, how you're connecting with the right people in your market, how you engage with insights on LinkedIn, and how effectively you build relationships. So 4 really interesting metrics, I think, that you can go on and see where you're at the moment against your statistics from weeks before, but also in terms of the industry and where you rank. And obviously, whatever your score is, for me, it's about how do you better that score? How do you improve your insights? How do you improve your brand? So we'll send that link out, and hopefully as a takeaway, you guys can use it, see where you're at. And again, for support and how to improve that, you can reach out to us after the call.
Perfect. Thank you, Hayley. So in the true style of the Thrive series that we've been bringing to you guys, we've got a few activities or confidence builder takeaway items that we'd like you to think about. And again, as I said at the beginning of the call, we talk very basic around something that you might already know about, but we wanted to give you some new ideas and thoughts to perhaps just encourage you to think in a different way. I'm sure, you know, the social selling tool, for one, for me is a one I hadn't heard of before, and a really interesting one, as I'm sure you guys will find interesting too. So a few things here that we'd like you to look at for takeaways, and this is not exact tasks that you have to do that anyone is going to follow up on. It's just some things that you can do to perhaps look at how you can improve your profile and your online presence. So firstly, visit the toolkit on the one. That toolkit there will give you, as I said at the beginning of the call, will give you a great direction on how to build a good profile. Do more of less. I think Hayley went into a lot of detail about the dynamics of liking, sharing and engaging with different content. I think we're all present online in some way, shape or form, but how much can we actually say that we do the liking, sharing and engaging? Again, looking at that analytics tool is, I think, going to be a great realization for some of us in some of the areas that we perhaps need to put some work into, and perhaps where we can improve. The last but not least, sorry, the second from last here is the ask for recommendations. Again, I think one of the things that really resonates for me here is, would we book an Airbnb without any reviews? Would we go on a holiday with TripAdvisor that didn't have a good rating? I think this is the same for your LinkedIn profile, asking for those recommendations so people are able to see the validation of the great work that you're doing. And also sharing of the articles on the website. So we showed you some examples a few slides back in terms of the actual articles that are already written and ready for you just to share. So hopefully we've given you some food for thought. We've given you some things to think about and take away. Obviously, after this call, as normal, we will send round a survey monkey, which will give you the option to look at if you would like to go a little bit deeper into this. But also we will send you the tools that you will need to access the analytics, to also access the details through the one, etc. But thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Particularly thanks to Hayley and Rihanna. Both fantastic, and thanks for taking the time. Have a great evening, everyone. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just you and me, Hayley. And I
Katie's just calling me.
and then
Oh, I thought
Kat,
she was
alright.
going to stay on. Can I call you afterwards?
Yeah, I'll stop the recording now and then work out what
Cheers.
happens with that.
Cheers,
Okay.
Paul.
Bye. How do I stop recording?